on and off the pitch, are things we've missed terribly. With Martinez back, United finally get that extra edge we've been craving. Ask yourself, how many times this season have we looked shaky at the back and thought, if only Martinez were there to marshal the defense? Make no mistake, his return is monumental. It's not just about solid defending. It's about heart, fight, and raising the standard for everyone else. Could this be the moment where our season finally clicks into gear? But that's not the only major headline surrounding our club. A UAE takeover? Massive rumors swirl reports are emerging that a consortium from the United Arab Emirates is preparing a sensational bid to buy Manchester United from the Glazers. Sounds unbelievable, but credible sources like Chris Wheeler of the Daily Mail say talks are already happening behind the scenes. Even more intriguing, former United legends have reportedly been approached about coming on board as ambassadors. Just imagine that. Our old heroes returning to play a part in shaping the future of the club. Yes, the Glazers would reportedly demand over $5 billion. But for most fans, the price tag is irrelevant compared to the potential transformation. Could this be the dawn of a new era? An era free from the Glazer shadow? And if a UAE-backed group brings real investment and ambition, something United have long lacked, could it finally propel the club back to the very top? Future stars? Meet Christian Orozco. Here's another exciting development for the future. Manchester United have secured the signing of Christian Orozco, a Colombian midfield talent born in 2008, from Fortaleza SV. He'll officially arrive in July 2026 on a 5-year deal. Yes, you read that right, a 2008-born wonder kid. This is smart business, forward-thinking and focused on long-term success. Could Orozco become the next South American star to light up Old Trafford, following in the footsteps of club legends? Maguire contract talks, a comeback story? In another surprise twist, United are reportedly in talks with Harry Maguire over a new contract. His current deal runs until June, but Fabrizio Romano confirms that face-to-face meetings have already happened. Fan opinion on Maguire has always been split, but credit where it's due. He's fought his way back into the conversation under Amorim. Written off, mocked, but still standing. Does he still have a role in this new United era? Personally, I think his experience and resilience are assets that can't be undervalued, especially in a dressing room still searching for identity. Harry Kane wants a Premier League. Return now, here's a headline to stir the pot. Harry Kane could be eyeing a return to the Premier League in 2026 or 2027 to chase Alan Shearer's all-time goal record. According to Ben Jacobs, Kane, currently at Bayern, is open to rejoining the English top flight. And United's name is back in the mix. Think about it. Kane's clinical finishing alongside a youthful front line of Chesko, Cunha, and others. Could he be the missing link between raw talent and real silverware? Would you take him for 2 seasons in his 30s if it meant short-term success and vital mentorship? Investor talks heating up. Let's get back to the potential takeover. According to Turki Al-Sheikh, talks with new investors are advancing rapidly. This could genuinely mark a new chapter at Old Trafford. Could this finally be the end of the Glazer era, marked by debt, hollow promises, and chronic underinvestment? If the new owners bring vision, money, and most importantly, a football-first mindset, then yes, this could be the turning point. But here's the bigger question. Do you trust this next ownership group to be better? Or are we bracing ourselves for another false dawn? Martinez set to return post-international break. Back to Martinez. Mailsport confirms that he's already working with the ball, and recent scans show promising signs of recovery. After the international break, he could rejoin first-team training. Let's be honest, without him, the defense has looked shaky. With him back, we regain not just skill, but spine and spirit. Should Amorim throw him straight back in, or ease him in to avoid another setback?